Good stuff. And we're live. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice coffee break. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Paul. I'm head of sales here at JobAdder. I'm excited to be hosting this session for our BDX Summit, Know Your Niche, the power of specialization. I don't know whose idea it was to put that word into a live session, but thank you very much. I'm joined today by two incredible industry experts. So first up, and her second session with us today, is Vanessa Rath, a global recruitment expert, trainer, and keynote speaker with nearly 2 decades of experience empowering recruiters to master talent attraction and strategic growth. Joining us both is Christina Robinson, Manager and Director of Green Umbrella Marketing and Digital. Green Umbrella Marketing, a digital marketing specialist who help recruiters cut through the noise and build an unstoppable online presence and dominate social media. Ladies, thanks so much for joining me today. We'll jump straight in. We've got 30 minutes. So Vanessa, I know you've just got off a session, but we'll start with yourself. Many agency leaders worry about choosing a niche and how it will limit their opportunities. In your experience, what is the real cost of not specializing, and what opportunities are agencies potentially missing by trying to be everything to everyone?
I'm so passionate about this answer. I could take the next half an hour to just answer this. Is
Okay.
that I see that all the time, but unfortunately, what I'm seeing at the moment is the generalist agencies are the ones who aren't keeping up with the times. The ones that are, I'm getting the phone calls from Vanessa, we've done this for 20 years, AR's coming in, it's eating our breakfast, we don't know how to cope. Yet the niche specialization industries are the ones that have really worked hard. They've built a name over the last couple of years. They're really robust. And for me, the key to being a really good recruitment agency is the agency that is always top of mind and tip of tongue. And I believe that you can only really do that well when you have chosen a specialization, whatever that area may be. I mean, I was in London last week. I had breakfast with one of my clients, and their specialization is literally finance within the in legal companies and legal firms in the UK. I mean, that's a really tight specialization, but
Mm,
it's so specialized that everyone knows them. So the
mm.
real danger of not doing this is it really is being lost in the noise. You know, what you recruit, well, that's great, but what do you recruit? What are you the industry expert in? That's the danger.
Yeah, and I think John and Rebecca actually touched on it a little bit earlier. I'd quite like the compare. They compared it to a restaurant menu, and having all of these options, trying to cater for everyone. I believe John referred to one in particular, which had 1,000 things on the menu, and then there was lobster. So I'm not sure if I would trust ordering a lobster or any shellfish from a restaurant like that. How long's
So
that
true.
lobster
That's a
been
great
kicking
analogy. I
about?
love
It
it.
really is. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like that one. Obviously, not all
Yeah.
niches are created equal. So when people are evaluating market sector, what separates a genuinely attractive niche? One that sort of may look more promising than the others, or it might look promising on paper, but actually it's unlikely to drive sustainable growth.
Directed at me, back to me,
Yeah,
or is
so
Christine?
yeah, so yeah, just
Okay.
yourself, and I suppose in general. Feel free to chip on these as well, Christine, if there's anything you can add.
So for me, it would be there is now niche specialities within niche specialities.
Mm,
So for me, the key thing would be to be looking at which niche is one that's going to be around for longevity, and then almost choosing two or three niches within that niche. So, as an example, your overarching umbrella, to use a popular term here, Christina, is to look at the umbrella of tech and then specialize. And what I'd be looking at the moment is like AI, cybersecurity, and data. So, really specializing and carving out niches within niches, and then really encouraging your staff to be working hard to build a brand within that space. So, and Christina's going to talk about this a lot more because she's really good at her LinkedIn marketing and those kind of things. But, what do you talk about to show that you are and I say SME, and a lot of people are going to think I'm talking about a subject matter expert, but even being the subject matter enthusiast in that space online is going to drive both clients and candidates towards your team.
Yeah, cool, great. And Christine, we'll come on to maybe how people can market into their niche within a niche within a niche. I like that. It's almost like a Russian doll sort of type setup. And
Mm.
quick, quick other question, Vanessa. How many sectors? I mean, you said there about choosing an industry sector and then finding a niche really within that sector. How many niches do you think is what's the key? What's the key to success? Is there too many niches? For me, it's probably two or three. I think any more than that, and you're
Sure.
probably diluting it a bit. What's your view?
So, Paul, this question I put in the same category as how long is a piece of string? Because it is a really difficult one to answer. And what I would say is that you need to have a main niche that is your go-to market. Okay. And that's how you represent yourself. That's what you talk about. But I always say to my clients is that if someone comes to you and says, let's say, for example, I am a legal recruiter, I only recruit in the legal space, but someone asks me for a PA. I'm not going to turn away work because I know how to recruit. I know how to recruit a PA, but it's not my go-to market. So the niche is whatever you choose that you want to, what you want to work. But the story that you tell should come down to, stay in your lane, know what you're talking about, and really understand that vertical really well. But it doesn't mean that you can't work outside of that vertical. And I think that that's what a lot of agencies need to understand is that just because you have various niches, and I agree, two or three would probably be about the right number, it doesn't mean you can't sometimes, color outside the lines per se.
Yeah, and I think a lot of businesses I've worked for, the business brand will have a industry specialization, and then they'll have either teams or individual consultants that really fine tune the niche, as it
Yeah.
were. What would your advice be to those that perhaps haven't got a niche at the moment and are looking to get into specializing within a niche? What kind of frameworks and processes perhaps would you recommend?
I think it's always good to work with like the natural affinity of what your team is interested in. I think that even if you're a generalist agency, you're always going to have that one person on the team who understands the healthcare or whatever it might be, because it's so much easier to let someone work to their strength and their interest as opposed to just imposing something which they haven't got a clue about. So for example, for me is that I started out, in recruitment looking at education and teaching because that was the industry that I came from. So I understood the industry and it made life so much easier. So I would say that instead of just pulling something randomly out the hat, it needs to tick a box of, your team's interests, what they know about. And second of all, it has to be, relevant. If it was someone who was maybe doing mass call center recruitment in a world of AI and everyone's got AI voice agents, it probably wouldn't be the best business decision, but something that's really topical, like healthcare. People are always going to need nurses and doctors, would be a good place to look and start.
Sure, and I think to add to that, I think recruiting experienced consultants within that niche is if you're looking to actually, we now want to specialize in this particular area within our market sector, and you look around, well, actually, rather than training our consultants, maybe they'll look to hire a consultant that has worked in that particular niche. So,
So either a
Christina,
consultant that's worked in that niche or someone coming out of that niche who's over the niche and now wants to
correct.
recruit into the niche
Yeah, yeah,
also works really
which
well.
is great. So from my point of
Yeah.
view and my team, if I was recruiting my team, someone that's had experience in the recruitment industry,
Yeah.
has been a recruitment consultant, can really understand the language that's used, understand pain points, and that our customers will have with their current CRM. So, Christina, once they've chosen a niche, obviously the positioning of that becomes quite critical. What are the key ingredients of a brand that is recognized as a specialist rather than just another operator in the market?
Okay, just before I answer that, I just want to, just with your last question there with Vanessa,
Hmm.
from a marketing perspective, we've also got data in the agency. We already know like
Mm.
which are, if we look at everyone we've placed so far, every client that we've worked with so far, we know who are the ones we want to work with again and who are the ones we never want to see again. And so actually looking at the data, looking at the results can quite often signify the industries we should be doing more in. And I think that's really important. We start looking externally at what's the picture, and sometimes we forget to look internally in the business and say, okay, what's worked before that we can bring forward.
And
So,
that's where the data quality, obviously we could have a whole nother session on that,
yeah,
but also the reporting, the reporting that's available within the business's CRM or ATS, to actually look at that data, compare that data, either per quarter or year upon year to see what kind of niches perhaps are trending as well.
yeah.
There's a lot of reports available, in JobAdder that can give their clients that data at hand, comparing it to previous months, quarters, etc. So that's really powerful. So back to the other question in terms of on the marketing side. So once they've chosen that niche, tell us the ingredients, tell us your secrets, Christina.
Do you know, I always say I work with people that lack the time, the enthusiasm, and the courage to stand out online. And I think it really is those three things. If you want to be known within your niche, then you have to be present there. You've got to be public facing. You've got to be brave enough to step out from behind the desk and really get in front of the right people. That takes time. So we need to diarise it. And it's easy to think of your marketing activities, especially from a personal brand perspective, as just another job that's on the long list of things, and then you let it fall off the table. So protecting that time to be able to actually engage is really important. Hopefully you're in a niche that you feel some passion for, and that is going to help you feel more enthusiastic about not just talking about that niche from a recruitment perspective, but actually really getting into it and understanding what are the pains of the client, pains of the candidate. Absolutely, we need to understand that and be talking on those. But actually, from an industry perspective, what's hot, what isn't, what's coming next in the industry, who are the key people within that industry that we want to be seen in association with, all of that. And that only happens when you come from a place of enthusiasm, because you get excited talking about that new bit of legislation that sounds like nonsense to anyone else outside of the industry, but you get because you're passionate about it. Which brings me to the courage point. If we just think about LinkedIn as a marketing channel, this is somewhere we should be having conversations aimed at our niche, evidencing the fact that we are an expert in the niche. It's one thing to be an expert recruiter, but when we specialize, we need to show that actually we really get this sector. And having that confidence to say, this is brilliant or this is shit, excuse my language, right? But being able to voice that, like there's a load of stuff going on at the minute in the UK with, under 16s being banned from social media, etc., etc., etc. If your niche was in the marketing space, within the digital marketing space, then that's something you need to talk about. It's nothing to do with recruitment, but the people in your audience that are part of your niche, they're going to see that information. They're going to get involved in those conversations. And this is where your social media element, your online presence, it's all there to strengthen that rapport building stage. Now, if you're building rapport with a client, you don't go in telling them that you're a recruiter and this is how much you've billed and these are the candidates you're looking for. You go in asking questions about them and what's happening in their world. So, like I said, for me, it really is those three things: protecting the time, having the enthusiasm, and having the courage to use your voice.
And the courage is a big one, right? It takes people a lot to come out of their comfort zone, to put themselves forward, particularly on something like this or on social media. To do a video. What I would encourage people, to do is definitely don't start with live sessions because they can't be edited. Definitely I would say look at focusing on what kind of content is missing from your niche as well. You know, what kind of valuable content can you offer? What's going to make you stand out? And actually sitting down doing videos. You don't have to personally be on the video. You know, you can just use some B-roll and, you know, some messaging sort of within that to deliver that. So it's a good place to start.
It's a great place to start. I would challenge it slightly.
Okay.
Recruitment is all about relationship building. Marketing is all about relationship building. What we're talking about here is trying to encourage everyone watching this to go an inch wide and a mile deep, instead of, you know, if we try to serve everyone, we end up serving no one. The message isn't going to land because no one's going to think that's me. The other thing with this is, and obviously I do a lot of work around personal brand. If I'm trying to, if you're trying to get my attention, Paul, and you want me to know you, I need to see you.
Correct.
And I need to see you with warts and all the mistakes. It's like if you put off creating that video because my hair's not right, or I haven't done my makeup, or I haven't oiled my beard, right? None of that makes a change to your message.
All valid reasons to not create content.
all valid excuses.
Yes,
believe me, I've heard all the excuses over the last 10 plus years. I mean, I literally, to prove this, I was thinking about doing this session today. I was in the gym yesterday, and I'm going through a period of physical rehabilitation, and I'm walking on the treadmill, and I walk like if you think of a drunken 2-year-old, like their walking's 100% better than mine on the treadmill. So it's this video of me on the treadmill, struggling. I've got no balance. The angle's terrible. I'm sweating. None of that matters because the message is more important. The message is you need to show up. Record that video. If you say the wrong thing in the middle of it, you go, oh, wrong word there, and say it again. If we're struggling to say specificity, we just make a joke out of the fact that, oh, could have picked an easier word then, and carry on. You know, it's if we're walking down the street recording a video and we trip, it's like, oh, whoopsie, carry on, because you're human. And if you were there in front of that individual, there is no edit. If we were there in person, face to face, they would see us warts and all. The best performing video from a social media perspective is the stuff that has little editing, low production value. From a personal brand perspective, that's the type of content that connects you with your audience.
And anyone can do that, right? That you don't need any specialist equipment. We've all got mobile devices that you can record, whether you're walking down the street, whether you're sat down at your desk, whether you're, like you said, in the gym or whatever. And I think what I encourage all of my guys to do is to try and build their personal brand. I think it's really important because people buy from people. So I think from a recruitment business owner's point of view, encouraging your staff to get out there, target content for their particular niche is how you're going to get recognized and
I just want to comment on that.
Business brand. Sorry, go on, Vanessa.
Sorry, I just want to chime in on that because I love what you both have said around personal branding. Like I can listen to Christina talk about marketing and personal branding for days on end, but I just want to add in, because I'm known as the go-to person about AI and recruitment, yet the hashtag that I use all the time is hashtag #UpYourHuman, which has recently had an upgrade to #UpYourHumane. Because in a world of AI and everyone's generating loads of AI slop, AI generated images, AI videos using tools like HeyGen or Synthesia or whatever it is, like the more authentic we can be. So Christina, your analogy of you running on the treadmill, now I want to go find the video, struggling, sweating, all of those things, is that you couldn't be more down to earth, more genuine, more authentic if you tried. And that's what we actually need to see more of.
And this is the thing, and to add to that is you become more approachable.
Yeah, totally. You become so human.
Just want to be approached.
I think authenticity is definitely the word for this session. I know this is focused on niche, but I think you cannot break into that niche without the right sort of authentic personal brand. If you just start sharing generic reports or stuff you've run through AI, you're not going to stand out, I think, is the key there. So for
Yeah,
those
I just want to add one further thing
Mhm.
before we move on. So this idea of personal brand and getting people in your team to do that and encourage them on that side. Personal brand isn't something that you go out and get. It's something you're born with. And so the question is not whether or not I should have a personal brand. The question is, how am I leveraging my personal brand?
Mhm.
You already have a presence. If you're the recruiter that's on there and only posts jobs, that's what your personal brand is saying about you right now.
Mhm.
It's so important to understand. You were born with a personal brand. The question you need to ask yourself is, am I leveraging it? And if the answer is no, it's like, okay, how can I leverage it? How will I leverage it? And move forward from there.
And to your point earlier,
I want to comment on
courage is
that as well
also.
when you get a chance.
I was just going to say that with that, Christina, courage, like you mentioned earlier, is one of the biggest things. I think a lot of people just don't have the courage to put either themselves or their personal brand out there. Go on, Vanessa.
I just want to comment on what Christina said because she's so incredibly correct. And the last blog that I wrote before I went off on my travels to the UK was literally about how introverts can also have a personal brand because it's something
Mm,
you're born with. It is just different. You don't have to be this massively ridiculous extrovert personality, and I'm speaking firsthand here, in order to be able to build a brand. It can be incredibly powerful as an introvert. Some of the introverts that I know are some of the best talent sources and recruiters out there because what for me beats everything around building a personal brand is consistency. So if you can crack your consistency, you can pitch up 2 to 3 times a week on your chosen platform and do it regardless of how you are feeling, whether you feel like it or not, but you put together something that resonates with others. That is the true key to building a personal brand. So we're completely on the same page.
great. Moving the conversation on, just in terms of, for agencies that have historically operated as a generalist, making that move to a niche, it could feel like a lot of work, can feel quite daunting. What practical steps can leaders take to make that transition successful without jeopardizing existing revenue streams, pipelines, etc.?
It's about managing the message. So at the minute, the message that's going out there is covers everything. Okay, we're massive. I said inch wide, mile deep earlier. Well, if we're
Mm,
an inch deep and a mile wide, our message is already diluted. So the job is to actually get that dilution and bring it in, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. If you suddenly snap overnight, we're going into a new niche, then there'll be a bit of uncertainty that you need to manage with your existing clients. However, treating it as almost, okay, on the 1st of September, we're launching this new niche, and you do sort of pre-launch marketing towards that niche. That's a good way of managing it. The other way to attack it is basically saying, right, at the moment, 100% of our content is generalist. So we're going to bring it down bit by bit. We're going to do a 90-10, an 80-20, a 70-30, and over time move that marketing message. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be marketing directly to
mm,
people in that niche. That's absolutely fine. But I'm talking about the public messaging. And for me, having worked with recruitment agencies, taking that approach of we're going into this niche, this is an event as of this day, and marketing towards it as, yay, we've now launched in construction. Absolutely. That works really, really well.
yeah, good stuff. We have had a few questions come through on the Q&A. So I'm just going to read a couple of those out. There's quite a few, so we're not going to have time to cover them all, but I can try and type some answers to the to people we don't get to answer. Anonymous attendee is asking, talking about personal branding, how do you differentiate it from building a business brand? Christina, do you want to take
So
that?
if you think about the values of your business, and your personal values, which sometimes there's a bit of mindset work involved in that, you will find that there is an overlap. And the key difference really is there's just like one or two things on either side that you'll talk about, as the business, but not personally. You talk about personally, not as the business. But the key is those things that are overlapped, they're core messages.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, the business brand is about the business. Your personal brand is about you. You own it. It's yours. It's part of you. It follows you wherever you go.
Mm-hmm. And I think business owners, or senior leaders within a business should be leading by example. Do you think it's right for business owners or leaders to be dictating what individual consultants' personal brands should look like?
I think an example, I think a framework that they would
Mm-hmm.
encourage their recruiters to stick to, absolutely. But I think you've got that again, the 80-20 split. That extra 20% is where you really make it your own.
Mm-hmm. And
You
I think framework's the key there, right? From
yeah,
businesses, if you're encouraging your staff to build personal brands, because it's going to help you target your niche, because it's going to help them get themselves out there to ultimately make more, create more deals, build better relationships. I think having those guide rails in place, it's like, we don't expect you to be using coarse language, or we don't expect you to be, we want your post to be professional all the time. You're representing us as a business, but it's your personal brand, and you've got, we don't want to script it for you.
yeah.
Moving on to
I
a
think
couple of other,
it's
sorry,
just really quickly, I
go on,
think it is
Christina.
also the employers need to create a framework that's easy for the consultants to engage in.
Yes.
So this is what good looks like, and
Mhm.
here are all the resources and the opportunities we're going to offer you so that you can create what good looks like. And in that 20% of things that's you, here's some ideas that you can use. So we're still framing that, but we're allowing autonomy within it as well.
Okay. Someone's asked in the Q&A about presenting yourself as an expert in a niche focused on LinkedIn. What would a list of posts, maybe a 30-day strategy to get that across on LinkedIn to candidates and clients help position yourself? But from my point of view, that would be like, you can utilize AI for that if you're training it to, here's the niche
Absolutely.
I'm trying to break into. Here's
Yeah.
what I want to get across to. Here's the type of clients I'm working with. Can you help me build a strategy for that? Vanessa, have you worked with clients that have implemented strategies like that?
So yes, I have, and I just wanted to comment on something that was said previously. Was that we were talking about personal branding and what can consultants and internal TA teams, what can they, can't they post? That is their biggest fear when it comes to building a personal brand. Is, oh,
Mm,
are we allowed to do that? There's so much fear about what they can and what they can't post, which is really something that I encourage like agency and business owners to talk to their teams about, because it really is a problem. Sorry, going back to the question, I would actually take that to Claude. I never encourage posting every day on LinkedIn, to be honest. I
mm,
think that would be a little bit of an overload, especially when someone goes from zero to hero. You don't hear from them for like a year, and then next thing it's every day for 5 days. I don't really post on weekends on LinkedIn. I don't advocate it, maybe on like a rainy Sunday, wherever your target audience is, Sunday evening. But I find like a Monday to Friday posting schedule is better. And I would then also choose, maybe I aim for about 3 posts personally a week, just because some days are busier than others. Some days I'm actually not in the mood to post. I'm actually just having a bit of a down day. I don't feel like working. I don't feel like being at my desk. I'm not going to post because I don't want that negativity to come out. But we're all
mm.
human beings. So I would work on a 3 post a week schedule, go to AI, talk about what is trending, what are things that are happening in the industry. And for me, the best way to boost your posts and get traction is get all of your evidence before. So when I was for 2 weeks in the UK now, I literally took photo after photo after photo, and you will see them appearing for the rest of the year in my LinkedIn posts, because it's all about having the content, that authentic content and the photographs of people that I can then relate to LinkedIn posts.
Great. One last quick question from Monica. would you recommend stepping outside your niche when recruiting for key clients? So, for example, niche is SAP recruitment. Would you recommend taking on a general IT role for a key client?
I don't see why not. If you feel confident that you know someone within your network, you don't have to shout it from the rooftops, but you can do it and you can fill it and you
Correct.
can make money.
Yes, exactly. That was going to be my point too. You don't have to rebrand yourself or your business, but yeah, taking on certainly if it's a key client, you want to keep them happy, you want to keep them close, and
This is the other thing with working in a niche. So let's say that was the example. Well, now you've built relationships with other recruitment owners, and maybe it's like one of those other recruitment businesses can support you in filling that role, even though it's outside of your niche, and then everybody wins.
Yeah, agreed. Look, that's our time today, guys. Sorry we didn't get around to all the Q&A questions and some good ones in there. Thanks to everyone for joining. Obviously, if you're looking for a CRM that can help you target your niche, offer valuable market insights, as we discussed earlier, feel free to head over to the virtual stand. Our team are there waiting. They can answer any questions you may have. Christina, Vanessa, been a pleasure. See you
Thank
again
you
soon.
so much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye.